I didn't believe in cursed towns until I heard the first call. It was 3:14 a.m. when the station phones started screaming, not ringing, screaming. All 7 lines lit up at once, flashing red like a dying heartbeat. Sheriff Jacob Price wiped sleep from his eyes and picked up. A woman sobbed on the line. "Please, please send help! It's here! It's here!" Crackle. Dial tone. Another call. A man this time. "The dark is alive! It's swallowing us!" Third call. Fourth. Fifth. Every voice was different. Every voice was terrified. And then Jacob saw the caller location flashing across the cracked LCD screen. Dry Creek, Nevada. He froze. Dry Creek had been abandoned for 50 years. A mining disaster, a fire, a mass disappearance no one could explain. No power lines, no residents, no networks. And yet the calls kept coming. "They're under the houses. It comes with the sand. Don't let night fall." Each voice cut off mid-sentence, as if dragged away. Jacob grabbed his hat, badge, and shotgun, not because he believed the calls, but because he had to know. He started the engine. Headlights cut across the desert highway. Each mile felt heavier, darker, thicker, like the desert was leaning closer, listening. The sun was still rising when he reached the faded sign. "Welcome to Dry Creek, population 893. Jacob stepped out. Silence. So complete it felt like the world was holding its breath. That's when he saw it. A set of fresh footprints in the sand. Dozens of them. Men, women, children, leading toward the center of town. Jacob followed, but every window was boarded, every door locked, every house empty. Yet campfires still smoldered, coffee cups sat half full, playground swings moved, though there was no wind. Dry Creek looked like its people had vanished in a single second. Jacob whispered, "Hello? Anyone here?" And that's when he heard the whisper behind him. "You're late." Jacob spun around so fast the gravel cracked beneath his boots. But no one was there. Just empty street, empty town, empty silence. Yet the whisper had been inches from his ear. His pulse hammered. He tightened his grip on the shotgun. "Hello?" His voice echoed against cracked brick walls. Nothing answered. Jacob forced himself forward. Main Street stretched before him, abandoned saloon, faded schoolhouse, shattered church steeple. It felt like stepping into a photograph, one that didn't want to stay still. He reached the center square, where a rusted horse trough still held water. He dipped his fingers in. The water was warm, just warmed. Someone had been here recently. He walked toward the general store. Sunlight flickered strangely on the windows, like something was moving inside. Jacob pushed the door. Creak! Dust filled his nose. Shelves stood half-stocked, jars of canned peaches sealed and intact, like the store had closed yesterday, not half a century ago. A ledger lay open on the counter, written in neat handwriting, August 14th, 1974, 8:03 p.m., closing early tonight. The night feels wrong. Jacob shivered. Then the bell above the door jingled. He turned. No wind, no person, but the bell swayed gently, like invisible fingers had brushed it. Jacob backed out into the street. Something was wrong with time here. It felt thicker, like syrup, like every second fought to hold him in place. Footprints that weren't his. On the road, he saw more prints, bare feet, boots, small shoes. 172 sets, the exact number of calls that hit his station.
He followed them around a corner and froze. The footprints didn't fade, they ended. Every track, adult and child, stopped abruptly in the middle of the street, as if the people had vanished into smoke. Jacob crouched, touched the last print. Still warm from the sun, still fresh. He whispered quietly, "What happened here?" From behind him, gravel shifted, scraping. Boots, like footsteps, pacing. Jacob turned. Again, no one. But the shadows cast by buildings seemed to stretch and shrink like they were breathing. The unmarked church. Jacob's eyes fell on the old church at the end of the street. White paint peeled like scabbed skin. Stained glass hung shattered, but light flickered inside. He didn't want to enter. Every instinct screamed to leave. But the phones, the voices, the children. He forced his legs forward. Door groaned open. Blackness swallowed the air inside. Jacob clicked his flashlight. Something moved along the pews, fast. He swung the beam. Dust. He stepped down the aisle. Rows of hymn books lay open. Page 44. Every single one. 2 words written across the music in smeared pencil. Stay out. His stomach dropped. Then the bell tolled above him. Bong, bong. With each toll, the air got colder. Breath fogged in front of him, and the walls began whispering. Too late, too late, it's coming. Jacob stumbled backward out of the church, gasping as if breaking water. The whispers followed him into the sunlight, faint but real. The last warning. On the ground outside the church door was a message scraped into the dirt by frantic fingers, letters uneven, desperate. Do not be here when the sun sets. Jacob finally said what he should have said hours ago. I need to get the hell out of here. He started back toward his cruiser. His boots felt heavier with each step. The sun hovered just above the mountains, too low, too fast. Then his radio crackled. Static, then a voice, his own voice. Jacob, you left us. He dropped the radio like it had burned him, and the sun dipped behind the ridge. Darkness slammed over Dry Creek like a door, and that's when the screaming began.
When the last ray of sunlight vanished, Dry Creek came alive. Screams rose from every alley, every doorway, every rooftop. Not single voices, hundreds. Men, women, children, all screaming at once. Jacob froze in the middle of the street. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Every window lit up like someone had struck matches behind the glass, silhouettes pacing, yelling, banging against walls. Yet the buildings were still empty. The screaming changed, broke apart into sobbing, pleading. Help us! Don't let it touch me! We're still here! Run! 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 Jacob snapped out of the trance, sprinted towards his cruiser. His boots pounded the dirt, heart roared in his ears. Just reach the car, start the engine, get out, live. He turned the corner and stopped dead. His cruiser was gone. No tire marks, no dust trail, nothing. Like the earth swallowed it whole. The shadows move. Footsteps pattered behind him, multiple, fast, bare feet slapping dirt. Jacob spun, shotgun raised. Nothing. But shadows were not behaving like shadows. They flickered, twisted, stretched across the ground like spilled ink with a life of its own. A child's cry burst behind him. Jacob turned. A small silhouette stood at the end of the street. A little girl, hair in braids, white dress gray with dust. She lifted her hand slowly and pointed behind Jacob. Jacob turned, breathing hard. A figure crawled out from underneath the schoolhouse porch, not walking, crawling on elbows, body jerking like a puppet on tangled strings. Its jaw hung loose, eyes hollow, skin charcoal black as if burned. Jacob staggered back. More bodies emerged, from under houses, behind fences, out of cracks in the earth, an entire town of twisted forms dragging themselves towards him. Their mouths moved in unison. "Don't leave us! Don't leave us!" Jacob fired. The blast lit the street. The closest creature exploded into black ash, and the ash tried to crawl back together. The flickering town. Then the world blinked. Dark, light, dark, light. Dry Creek flickered like reality was failing. For a split second, Jacob saw the town as it had been in 1974. People walking, laughing, living. Then it snapped back to the nightmare. The same people rotted and twisted, frozen in agony. Jacob gasped. They weren't ghosts. They were trapped between time. Every flicker pulled their dead forms closer to him. His radio crackled again. Jacob snatched it up, his own voice trembling. "Jacob, don't fight it. It already has you." Another voice overlapped, the same little girl now only inches behind him. "Stay! Someone must stay!" Jacob turned. Her eyes were gone, just black pits. The grab. Hands shot out of the dirt, dozens of them, clutching Jacob's boots, ankles, calves. He crashed to the ground, shotgun skidded away. He clawed at the dirt, kicking, gasping. The ground pulsed like it had a heartbeat and began pulling him down. He screamed, "No! No! Let go!" Whispers rose from below him, hundreds of voices pressed together. "Stay with us! Stay forever!" Jacob grabbed a metal fence rail and hauled himself upward. Hands slipped, legs yanked. Pain tore up his spine, but he broke free. He sprinted, didn't look back. The town roared in fury. 1,000 voices shrieked, "Someone must stay!" The only safe place. Jacob stumbled into the town hall, doors slamming behind him like pushed by invisible force. Inside, moonlight poured through broken glass. The room was silent, too silent. In the center stood a dusty desk stacked with journals. He picked one up, a sheriff's notebook, 1974. He opened to the last page. The handwriting was frantic. "We tried to leave. Something came when the sun fell. Every night it takes one." The next line scratched deep enough to tear the page. "To escape, someone must be left behind." Jacob's pulse pounded so loud he felt death. Below that line, "If you read this, it's already chosen you." A hand slammed the outside of the hall door, then another, then dozens. Screams filled the night, rattling windows. Jacob looked up. There were only hours until sunrise. He had to survive until then, alone, hunted, in a town that wasn't supposed to exist.
The pounding on the doors grew louder. Every strike rattled the hinges. Dust rained from the ceiling. Jacob backed away from the entrance, shotgun trembling in his hands. Something slammed so hard the wood split. A chorus of voices screamed, "Open up!" But beneath the screams, he heard whispers, begging, crying, "Please, Sheriff, swap places with me." Jacob's stomach twisted. They weren't just monsters. They were people, begging to be freed. Another blow. The doors cracked in the center, splintering open into jagged gaps. Jacob fired into the opening. The blast echoed through the hall. Something shrieked, not human. Black ooze spilled through the crack, smoking where it touched the floor. Jacob stumbled back, reloading fast. The clock that shouldn't work. In the town hall corner stood a large grandfather clock. In an abandoned town that had no electricity, but its pendulum ticked, slow and steady, like a beating heart. Tick, tick, tick. Midnight hit. The clock chimed once, then twice, 10 times, 12. With each chime, something changed. The banging stopped. The whispers died. Silence spread. Too sudden, too wrong. Then, tap, tap, tap. Footsteps, soft, measured, coming down the central hallway behind him. Someone walking, not crawling, not dragging. Jacob turned slowly. An old sheriff uniform, dust-coated badge, empty eyes. His skin flickered like weak flames, alive one second, dead the next. He spoke with a voice that was two voices layered together, one from the past, one from the grave. I left no one behind. The night took us all. Jacob swallowed. Who are you? Sheriff Mason Clay. My duty was to protect Dry Creek. I failed. Jacob kept the gun trained. What's happening here? Clay took a step closer. Floorboards didn't creak for him. The town made a bargain. When the mine broke open the earth, something ancient crawled out. It demanded a soul every night. In return, the others would live. Jacob's skin crawled. Clay continued. Our people ran, but the town is hungry, so it reaches out, finds new souls, calls them back. The phone calls, the screaming voices. Jacob whispered, "It wants me." Clay's eyes hollowed further. It needs you. For the sun to rise, someone must stay. The offer. Clay held out his hand, but his fingers were blurred, phasing in and out of existence. Stay willingly, and you keep your mind. Resist, and you become one of them. Jacob's heart slammed in his chest. I'm not dying here. Clay's face twisted. Then someone else must take your place. A stranger, a friend, even a name is enough. Jacob's mind raced. Choose someone else to save himself. The weight of that idea nearly crushed him. He lowered the gun. No. Clay's voice sharpened like broken glass. Then the town will drag you down screaming. The pounding outside resumed, 10 times worse than before. Jacob spun toward the window and saw them, dozens of shapes circling the building, twisted bodies, broken limbs, faces torn wide in silent screams, waiting, watching. The breached door. The front door exploded inward, ripped off its hinges. Creatures poured in, crawling over walls, ceiling, floor. Jacob fired until the shotgun clicked empty, then swung it like a club, smashing skulls that burst into ash. Hands latched onto his arms, teeth snapped inches from his throat, nails tore through flesh. He screamed, ripping free, sprinting up a staircase to the second floor. Behind him, the swarm climbed the walls like spiders. Jacob slammed into a locked office door, shouldered it open, dove inside. He slammed it shut just as a dozen claws scraped the wood apart. He shoved a filing cabinet against the door, but wood snapped, metal groaned. They were breaking in. Jacob looked wildly around. One window, 2 stories up, pitch-black streets below. He didn't hesitate. He ran, jumped, crashed through glass. The fall. Air tore past him. Time slowed. The ground rushed up. He hit hard. Pain screamed across his ribs. He rolled onto his stomach, gasping. Behind him, creatures leaned out the window like animals sniffing prey. Jacob stumbled to his feet and ran into the dark street. The only thought in his head, survive until sunrise. Jacob ran blind through the streets. Every house window burned with black fire inside, a light that devoured light. Screams chased him, but there was something worse, a low rumbling beneath the dirt,
like a giant exhaling under the town. The ground shivered, cracks split open across the road. A voice rose from beneath the earth, deep, ancient, layered with 1,000 whispering throats. A soul, bring me a soul. Jacob staggered back as black fog poured out of the cracks, forming tendrils that reached like fingers. He ran toward the only building untouched by flickering shadows, the mine entrance. The mouth of the mine. Dry Creek's mine should have been sealed decades ago, but the heavy wooden beams were broken outward, not inward, like something had forced its way out. Jacob hesitated at the entrance, cold air blasting out of the darkness like a beast's breath. Behind him, creatures poured into the street, their movements synchronized as if controlled by a single mind. They stopped at the edges of the mine shadow, bodies jerking, faces twisted. They wouldn't step inside. Jacob didn't think. He dove into the tunnel. The crawling dark. Pitch black swallowed him whole. The walls dripped with thick black slime that pulsed, alive and warm. Jacob dragged out his flashlight. The beam flickered weakly, like the darkness was eating the light. Faint voices echoed through the tunnel. Not screams, whispers, hundreds overlapping. Save us. Let us out. It hurts. Please, don't make us stay. Jacob stumbled forward. The tunnel widened into a vast cavern. He froze. The pit. In the center of the cavern yawned a deep pit, an abyss so black the light disappeared in it. From its depths came a slow, rhythmic breathing, shaking the ground. Every so often, something enormous shifted inside. Claws? Bones? Faces? Impossible to see, but he felt it watching. A pulse throbbed from the abyss, sucking the air in and out. Jacob's soul quivered. This wasn't a demon, not a monster. It was the town's heart, an ancient being feeding on human presence. No wonder the residents vanished. Their bodies died, their souls stayed. Jacob backed away, heart blasting out of his chest. He turned, but something blocked the tunnel. Sheriff Mason Clay. Flickering like a dying lantern, half his face vanished every second. You should have chosen someone, Jacob. Jacob raised the shotgun, useless, but instinct didn't care. Mason shook his head. One stays, or the town takes them all. Jacob spat through bleeding teeth. I won't let you drag me down. The dead sheriff smiled. It isn't us dragging you. The ground roared. The black roots. From the cavern floor, black tendrils shot upward. Not smoke, not shadow. Roots. Alive, dripping, searching. They tore through rock, clawed at the air, reaching for Jacob's legs. He dodged back. Roots slammed into the ground at his feet, splintering stone. He turned to run, but the tunnel ceiling crumbled, sealing the entrance. Dust exploded. Jacob fell to his knees. He was trapped. The pit pulsed harder, screaming in a voice that rattled bones. Someone must stay. Roots wrapped around Jacob's ankle. He clawed, kicked, tore at them, but more sprouted, grabbing wrists, waist, neck. He screamed, dragged inch by inch toward the abyss. His nails ripped on stone, boots scraped, every muscle burned. He yelled until his throat bled. No! No! Help! A voice answered, soft, right beside his ear. Trade places. Jacob's mind reeled. The town wasn't just taking bodies, it was offering bargains. Pick someone and walk free. The roots constricted tighter, crushing ribs.
Blood filled Jacob's mouth. Darkness smothered the edges of his vision. He had seconds to die or sacrifice a stranger. The pit pulsed sweetly. Say a name. Jacob choked on panic. He refused. He'd rather die. He opened his mouth to scream no. Cut. Black. Silence. The drag stops. The roots freeze mid-coil. Somebody is standing over him. Jacob blinks through tears, barely conscious. A human figure. Alive. Breathing. A young man in a desert uniform. Bowed head. Radio strapped to his chest. A deputy. Jacob's deputy. Deputy Ben Carter. Out of breath and trembling, he whispers, "Sheriff, I got your call." Jacob's heart shatters. He never called him. The town did. Ben reached forward, grabbed Jacob's arm. Roots immediately let go, as if making room. The pit rumbled with delight. Mason's voice echoed, "Someone must stay." And the cavern trembled, choosing its next meal.
Ben dragged Jacob away from the pit, boots grinding through wet stone, gasping with every pull. Jacob coughed blood. "Ben, go. Run." Ben shook his head, breathing like a hunted animal. "If you're staying, I'm staying." Jacob's heart twisted. "No, you don't understand." The ground boomed like a heartbeat. Roots slammed upward, thrashing the air. The pit roared. "Only one soul." The tunnel walls pulsed like muscle, sealing any exit. Ben swallowed, eyes wide. "Sheriff, what is this place?" Jacob managed, "A hungry nightmare." Ben didn't laugh. He stared at Jacob with something Jacob didn't expect. "Trust. Tell me what to do." Jacob's voice cracked. "Get out. Live. That's an order." Ben tightened his grip on Jacob's jacket. "Then you better fire me, because I'm not leaving you." The pit screamed again, shaking the cavern. Roots lashed toward them. Jacob shoved Ben backward. "Run." Ben didn't move. So Jacob used the only thing he had left, brutal honesty. "Ben, if we both stay, everyone we've ever talked to gets dragged here next. Friends, family, the whole damn county." Ben froze. "What?" Jacob spit blood, voice breaking. "This town calls through connections, calls through voices. If neither of us escapes, the circle widens." Ben processed that, eyes filling with horror. "So, one of us leaves, or thousands die?" Jacob nodded weakly. "Yeah." Ben exhaled slowly, shaking. Then he said something Jacob would never forget. "I'm sorry, Sheriff." Jacob blinked, and Ben kicked him full force in the chest. The sacrifice. Jacob flew backward across stone, hit the far wall, pain detonating through shattered ribs. Ben stepped toward the pit, tears streaking down his cheeks. Jacob screamed, voice shredded. "No! Ben, don't!" Ben stared into the abyss. "Someone has to stay. It's me." Roots rose like black serpents, wrapping his legs. Ben didn't fight. Jacob crawled, dragging himself through blood and dirt, hand outstretched. "Jacob, stop!" Ben looked back and smiled, broken and brave. "Tell my mom I made a deputy. Tell her I didn't quit." Jacob choked on a sob. "Ben, please." Ben's last words echoed. "Get out before sunrise."
The roots yanked him downward. He vanished with no time for a final scream. The ground sealed over him, smooth as untouched earth. The cavern exhaled. Silence. End scene. End scene. The sun returns. The mine trembled, walls splitting. The tunnel burst open behind Jacob, daylight flooding in like liquid gold. The pit howled, "The deal is done," and the entire town flickered as if relieved. Jacob crawled toward the light, every second a war. He dragged himself out of the mine just as the sun cracked the horizon. The first ray of sunlight hit Dry Creek. Everything stopped. The monsters froze mid-crawl. Bodies disintegrated into ash. Shadows burned away. The town, buildings, streets, even the sign, peeled upward into dust and blew into the sky, like it never existed. End scene. Aftermath. Jacob collapsed in the scrub outside the vanished town, sobbing, sun burning away the night's terror. His cruiser reappeared beside him, keys in the ignition, as if he'd never left. He climbed inside, drove in silence, hands shaking on the wheel. At the sheriff's station, every phone sat quiet. No calls, no screams, no voices begging from the dark. Just one voicemail on the machine. Jacob pressed play. Ben's voice whispered, "You got out." A beat. "Don't come back." Click. Jacob sank into his chair, face in his hands, because he knew the truth. Dry Creek hadn't been destroyed. It had gone back to sleep, waiting for the next name, the next voice, the next soul it could claim. When the sun went